Morning. Okay, hello, happy Wednesday. Ignore the various construction things behind me. We're fixing up walls and we start like five different projects at once before actually completing any. So, I don't know if anyone in here knows how that goes, right? So today we're going to kick off a new series. So I was really kind of feeling like I want to talk about the summer because I know that it becomes, tell me if you agree in the chat, it can become a lot harder for us in terms of the heat, our appetite and food aversions, more events coming up. There's so many things that can go into the summer being a trickier season for us than most would anticipate. So I was like, I was trying to think of everything. And then I'm like, you know what? There's a bunch of different avenues that I feel like deserve their own lesson. So let's make it a series. So we're going to call it the Summer Hell series. I don't know why. We're going to call it the Summer Hell series, right? And we're going to tackle a different thing that we tend to go through a lot and stuff that I've heard over the years from clients and people, on Instagram and stuff like that. And today we're gonna kick off with kind of like the theme of barbecues, outdoor gatherings, just in general, more of like the celebratory nature of the summer. So, first thing, I before we get into it, I told you, I don't remember if we did this. I don't think we've done this, but I want to start embracing at the beginning of every one of these lessons. So, all right, I'm gonna mute the record. I'm gonna pause the recording and I'm gonna unbrace with you guys. It's like a 30-second cortisol release kind of thing. So I'm gonna look crazy with you as we do it. All right, let's start up again. Okay, so to kick off, my God, you hear my voice? To kick off, what's one thing about summer gatherings or barbecues? Tell me in the chat. What's one thing about summer gatherings or barbecues that makes you feel or stresses you out? What's one thing about summer gatherings or barbecues that stresses you out? Tell me in the chat. Hmm? hmm Seeing people, 100%. Boob sweat. This is my first year with boobs. I had to wait till I was 35 to deal with boob sweat. It's not something I would have thought to talk about before until having it, but let me tell you, I hate it. I put deodorant on under there because I'm like, come on, the antiperspirant. I'm like, let's go. Stop. Doesn't help. The people, sensory overload, the heat, family watching what I eat and commenting, the worst. Sweat, clothes, bugs, bugs. Oh my God. Heat, sun, people, it's hot and everyone else wears shorts and tank tops. And that sucks. Like that's a huge thing. We're gonna talk about clothing and just like I guess, yeah, clothing, summer clothing. We're gonna talk about that next week. So, but I feel like no one really talks about how much it sucks when you are covered way more. And not just because you enjoy being covered up, right? That's different. Like covering up because you feel like you need to. Meanwhile, everybody else is in like easy breezy outfits, Really wears on the psyche, wearing jeans to the pool. I've been there. So, the never-ending questions about fertility. Ugh. I don't know, like it's just such a weird thing to like just make that like why would people discuss that? I've experienced it too, but like I don't get it. It's I don't know. It's very under his eye, I'm just like yeah, just sorry, my eyesight is like crazy. No control over food options, possible bug bites. I get tore up every year. I don't know if it's the freaking diabetes or what it is, but no energy to deal with people. Yeah. Yeah, I just tried on shorts while packing for the beach and had a mental breakdown. It's a whole ass episode next week coming up on clothes. And it is going to be a doozy. So I was at first gonna integrate it into today's lesson, and I'm like, you know what? No, that's a whole episode. Okay, so here's some stuff that makes summer feel a little extra hard for us. As you guys have mentioned, a lot of them in the topic for today, the heat. A lot of us are very heat sensitive, and that's interesting because with thyroid issues, you can become cold sensitive as well. I always say that I do better in the heat, but the problem with that is that I just don't feel it necessarily as much until it's too much, until it's like I can't breathe, I can't move, I can't function, you know? And a lot of that temperature dysregulation can be attributed to thyroid issues too. And then also elevated testosterone, makes it like the sweating is extra, the heat intolerance is extra. It's all part of that. It also causes blood sugar crashes when you're in the heat. So when you're in the heat, you become more insulin sensitive, which is good for those of us who have insulin resistance. However, excessive heat and excessive sun exposure, which for us might be not even as much as someone else, right, can cause you to drop where you become too insulin sensitive and your blood sugars drop. And when that happens, cravings go up because it's your body's way of making you eat something sweet so that your blood sugars go up again because you're crashing. And that can cause a cycle. If you've watched my insulin resistance videos or we've talked about it, that can then cause a vicious cycle. So, and it's just something that we don't really consider because you think like, oh, I'm wiped out. I feel like crap. I'm moody. I'm hungry. It's all stuff that like you would think if you were out in the sun or the heat, you would expect to feel that way. But it could be coming for the blood sugars. And that's a whole other thing for us, depending personally on what our issues are. Um, your nervous system gets overloaded faster. You don't have as much of a window or a buffer between fine and emergency because your body feels that it needs to be put into a little bit of overdrive to function to the level that it would if it wasn't as hot. Again, especially if you have heat intolerance at all. Um, And then overall, I think it's also the sensory side of that, which we'll talk about with clothing next week. But feeling, the feeling sticky, feeling wet, feeling like your clothes are sticking to you and you're very hyper aware of whatever bra you're wearing, or if you are wearing a bathing suit, like it just gets to be uncomfy because of the heat, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Can you guys hear my dogs freaking out? Um, Oh my God. So sorry if you can. There's no controlling them. What is here? You do better in the heat and the cold. Okay, you can't hear the dogs. Thank you. My brain just got scrambled. So if you can see it in my eyes, I was like trying to freaking focus on something. You do better in the cold. I hear that all the time from people in our situations. And a lot of chronic illnesses also do better in the cold for that reason. Um, and then it's funny because then other things could do worse in the cold, like joint pain might be worse in the cold, let's say, or asthma might be worse in the cold. It also might be worse in the heat. It's very dependent on what you got going on. But I think it's definitely something that gets to us. And there's never been a time where there's more things to help, more tools that we can use for that. So we'll get to that. So besides the heat, there's also the food, right? So restriction, often like restriction ideas often start coming up because you're going to be in clothes that are, like you're going to be in bathing suits and stuff like that. So, taking the baby to bed. Okay. Hey, hi. Sorry. He's so cute. Okay. Okay. Good night. I love you. Okay. Sorry. He's so cute. So, I'll try not to scream now while he's trying to sleep. So, restriction becomes a bigger thing, right? And then I think there's a lot of like, oh, screw it, that goes into it as well. And then you factor in the people that you're around and stuff, and food can kind of become a sore subject, right? Put a one in the chat if you've ever said to yourself, I wish I never had to think about food again. I just wish I never had to think about food again. I've never seen that chat blow up that fast in my life. There's so many ones. Agreed, right? So I think that that also compounds in the heat and in front of people too, right? So we go for the easier stuff, the tastier stuff, the watermelon, the corn, the, other various things that aren't even necessarily like bad things. It's just maybe stuff that we wouldn't typically eat, you know? Um, I think, what else did I write here? I also think that it becomes an interesting thing, balance between indulgence and control, right? Because you want to enjoy, you want to be part of the whole process, you want to be there, but you want to stick to your baby steps too. You don't want them to go out the window because it's summertime, but you also don't want to feel too restricted and slip back into that negative place either. So I think it kind of shifts and becomes different in terms of food in the summer, and especially at barbecues and stuff. Because if you're not hosting, you don't know what you're walking into. So, and then there's also something else, like a lot of catered stuff outdoors now people are doing, or like a lot of, um, I haven't been to like a cool coordinated outdoor party, but now it's becoming more popular to have like outdoor sweet tables and like all these kinds of things at these parties. So it gets to be kind of nerve-wracking. Um, People. This might be one that could be its own episode as well. You guys tell me if you want more on this topic. But okay, so the family comments, the body talk, the toxic conversations, right? Where someone could say something that's just so, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of pocket, right? Like inappropriate, something inappropriate, like or overstepping, invasive. That is the word. Invasive questions, but they do so with a smile while they're drinking, a White Claw or eating a freaking chicken leg, So it feels like if you go and say anything, you're gonna be the one that's like you're gonna be the crybaby, you're gonna be the drama starter. It's like you didn't want that attention to begin with. So how are you going to garner even more attention by like what are you going to say? How are you going to tell them to stop? You got to be part of the convo, right? Even if you don't want to be. That's so stressful. So I think, talking about bringing your own food, that's another thing, right? So I'll talk about it in part two, some different tips, and the one for food is bringing your own, right? How do we do that in a way that doesn't make people feel sorry for us or feel like they have a right to discuss how we're eating? People can be unintentionally just invasive. So that's really overstimulating. Um, let's see. Overall, I don't know why, I think especially women love to do this, but like gather and pick apart our bodies. I feel like that's a thing that happens at outdoor events, pool parties, barbecues, whatever. It just becomes like a let's just like that, like in Mean Girls, where they're looking at each other in the mirror and they're like, "Oh my God, my nail beds suck." Why do we do that? So I don't know if you guys have ever been in that situation, because that's what we want to do in bright sunlight, right? Next to a hot grill. We want to talk about the parts of ourselves that suck. Um, so put a one in the chat if you guys are relating to this. If you're already dreading an event outside after hearing all of this, one in a chat if it's relatable. Yeah. So, okay. I have a family picnic this Sunday. Whew. I can't wait to hear all about it. But yeah, no, it's rough. It's rough, especially it feels like there's this like spotlight on you, I mean, and that for a lot of us, we can feel that way in social settings already. But you factor in, you don't want to rub people the wrong way. You don't want to be talked about further. You don't want to upset anyone, even though you're upset. It's a lot outside, you know. Um, I like to take an edible before a family gathering, and you wouldn't be wrong for that. Um, Definitely, I'll help you with the bring your own food. You would be sitting there with the munchies, and no one would know. I already had to deal with this. Yeah, it's just people are so invasive. Everyone wants to be funny until I'm hilarious. Now they're mad. I feel like we have a very specific type of hilarious, People aren't ready. They're not ready. Um, so, okay, what can you do for it, right? So, trying to regulate yourself when all of this craziness might be happening. So, one, plan meals that support you before the barbecue. So, I'm not saying eat so much you're full. That is like disordered diet talk 101. But what I'm saying is don't leave yourself in the situation where you have no other options, right? Like you haven't eaten all day, and then you're tired, you're hot, you're sweaty, you're pissed off at your outfit, and then you get to the barbecue, and now you have to think about food. That sounds like an awful night, right? Like that sounds like your cortisol's going to be going crazy while you're sitting there with a half-ass smile on your face trying to act like you're having fun, you know? So what I mean by that before you go is make sure you eat like friggin' normal that day. Like, or if you're like, girl, normal is not eating, then make sure you eat. Text me. I will help you. But don't like that's a perfect storm of hating yourself at that event, if you don't eat beforehand. So that's the first thing. Second thing, bring something that you enjoy eating and you feel good about, but make enough for other people to eat too, so it looks like you're just being generous and like bringing something to add. Is there a type of dip that you really, really enjoy? Bring it with some of the almond crackers that I've given you, the Simple Mills almond crackers, and it looks cute. It's like a little dish. There's crackers around. You got a dip in the middle. It looks like you're just being a great, party goer, but really you're going to sit your ass there and eat it yourself. Go for, I can help you with so many things, so many ideas for this. I would love to brainstorm with you. So if you want to come up with something together that's like easy, we can come up with something inexpensive if that's what you're working with. But there's no reason you can't bring food you like and have it just be a pleasant, positive thing, and provide yourself an additional option than what might be there. So that's a big one. And I know a lot, it's really nerve-wracking to do that, but that's why I say make it look like a party thing you're bringing. So it doesn't look like you're bringing like a sandwich bag with your little things, even though that's cool too, especially like my allergy clients will do that. But if you want to avoid people being like, people think they have a right to talk to you about what you're eating. Like your uncle who's a mechanic is going to give you diet advice. So if you want to avoid that, just make it look like it's a party platter or something, and I can help you. Um, I'd call that medicating myself in response to Juliana taking the edible. There you go. Different dispensaries up here have different stuff. And then I forgot what it was called, but I think it was called Social Ease or something was this strain that I was hearing about that was like specifically supposed to be for social anxiety. Pretty interesting stuff. So anyway, in the moment tools that I have here also for heat. So they have fans. I know they don't always work the greatest. Look at reviews. The one that I was looking at to buy for Nick for Greece, that I like had great reviews and everything, is out of stock. So I am on the hunt again for a good one. Some of them I've heard or what I've read is like they can be bulky and loud. So you're standing next to people and it's like, so probably not ideal. They do make the cool rags if you've seen those. They're like these special like microfiber net little towels that hold on to the water really well without it being sopping wet. And then it gets really, really cold. And I actually had bought them for Nick I first bought them when we went to Rome back in the day because they were having a heat wave and he sweats in like January. The man is always warm. You saw him scuffle by here a few weeks ago bringing jelly, but he's never wearing a shirt, always sweating. So now that all know that about Nick, the rag thing, loved it. I also really like it too. So you just wet it and then keep it on your neck, and it's great. There's also, bring, what is this? Oh, mist fans. Mist fans are really good too. Little, like little spray bottles that have the fans at the end of them. Um, Also, see if there is an area with air conditioning. Don't feel bad about needing to step inside. I know, like, I feel like I used to be, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, if it's my own thing, and I don't want to put any ideas in anyone's head to be additionally self-conscious. But I remember back in the day, I used to feel bad being like in a larger body and getting hot because I just felt like I was like this big, gross, like, oh, I gotta huff and puff and go inside because I'm hot. It's not the truth. Like that's not you everybody gets hot. Like smaller people get hot too and they sweat too. But for me I felt like it was another thing that just like magnified my insecurities. But let me tell you something. If you're afraid of being the fat lady who goes inside because she gets too hot, you don't want to be the fat lady who passes out outside. So go in if it gets to be too bad or you get too frenzied or whatever. Go inside, just go to the bathroom and sit in the air conditioning and just collect yourself, you know? Text me if you need to. I can help walk you through that so you're not hating yourself for it. But okay. Um, of course, look for the shade, obviously. Pick different topics ahead of time that you can switch to. So if a conversation starts to come up with people that you don't particularly want to dive into, then you can just say, "Oh yeah, that's interesting," and change the topic. It's a way of like who's gonna like let's say someone asks a very invasive question like, "Oh, when are you guys gonna get pregnant?" You'd be like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's something coming up, you know, that's interesting. So, how are the kids doing?" It's obvious without being obvious, you know, it's obvious without making it because like what if you were to even you could correct someone in the nicest way possible. And I feel like them feeling terrible for asking would, because at least for me, it would make me feel even more like embarrassed. You know, again, it was like drawing more attention to it. And the last thing I wanted was to either answer this question or draw more attention to myself. So I didn't want someone to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Because even if they're a nice person and that's their response, that still kind of sucks. Like, what are you going to be like? "No, it's okay. It's okay." And then they're going to know they upset you. So it's like a kind of a little diversion that they're not going to be like, "Wait a second. Before I tell you about my kids, I asked about your fertility." That would be really weird if they did. And I think that would warrant some weird looks and maybe a walk away. But you know, so try to think of some good diversion. Like if you know there's someone that's going to be there, especially with family or whatever, and you know that they're typically the one that steps over that line, or you might be worried that they will, try to think of them and think of something you could ask them to divert the attention away from you. A hobby they're into, something about their family, whatever, a vacation they recently went on, the health of someone in there on their side. I don't know. Just come up with a couple things before the party that you have like in your back pocket. Let me see what you guys are saying. I really need reading glasses. It's crazy. Scrolling, scrolling. Work is taking us to a baseball game in 2 weeks, and I'm in full panic. No, the seats are in the sun. Whoa. I'm hoping for a cold, rainy day. Okay, good. I understand the panic. So get that cooling towel. I can send you the one that I recommend. It helped so much, especially to like lay it on your face from time to time. Not ideal because you want to watch the game and you don't want to be there with your coworkers with a rag on your face, but it's like an it's like I feel refreshed thinking about this friggin' thing, and it's a piece of microfiber, but I am easy to please. It works, you know? So, my parents keep their house at like 75, and if I turn it down 1 degree, my mom swears she is in the Arctic. That is how my mom is. So I understand. And I get cold very easily. Like I'm very cold sensitive as well. Like I was saying, I do better in the heat. Nick might argue and say I keep it hot and sweltering in here, but no, I wouldn't love it if it was 74 in here. I would love it if it was 74 in like the winter. He's talking shit from behind the computer. I would love 74 in here in like the dead of winter when it's freezing outside, but not in like the middle of July. I want like cold blowing on me, you know? Um, so yeah, no, I definitely. And then if you turn it down too, you put the air on, they're just like, do you know the cost of this, which I get, but I'm also hot. Turn it on. It helps that I'm super pale, so people assume it's because of that I'm always in the shade or inside, but I go feral when I'm hot. Yes. Yep. I feel like, you know, like no one would judge me back in the day if I went inside or I stayed in the shade. I often do, you know. I do also like the sun to a point. Um, but I was just always worried about that. I was like, oh, I don't want to go inside. Yeah. Silly insecurity. My best friend had one of her husband's cousins tell her, "I'm giving you guys 3 more years to have kids," and almost went feral even though I don't know that person. Why? Like, just, I don't get why people talk about that shit, like it's what? Nick said, what's the or else on that? Like, what happens if, you're like, what if 3.5 years, Um, is he going to charge a tax? Interest. So silly. The audacity. It's just dumb. That's why, sometimes I'm like, I'd like to chalk it up to maybe people don't have anything else to talk about. Maybe they don't have a lot of social graces. I have been in a situation where I have put my foot in my mouth. I wouldn't in that way because I'm aware, So I just try to chalk it up to like, they don't know what the hell to talk about. Let me come up with a few things before I see them that I can direct the conversation because they're probably going to say some stupid shit. Anyway, and it was a girl cousin. People are crazy. You're the craziest shit every day. Okay, what else do I have on here? So let's go back to food real quick for a second. If you guys want to brainstorm a little bit, what is one thing you would want to bring to a barbecue? Like, what is, maybe I'll ask you this way. If baby steps were not a thing, hormones were all balanced, everything was all good, life is but a dream. What's your ultimate barbecue food that you wish you could just thoughtlessly eat and not care and like not have repercussions? What's your one barbecue food you would love if you could eat absolutely anything? Brisket. Oh my God. Barbecue meats. Oh, I have to say it that way too. I'm like, meats. Um, Corn on the cob. Yes, absolutely. I love some charred corn. Oh my God. I'm like drooling because you know me, I'm eating after this. So, ribs and all the potato salad, a burger, cold linguine pasta. Ooh. I need to get that recipe from you because I'm so curious. Every time you talk about it, I'm like, because I'm a fan of like cold noodle dishes and other ways. Oh, thank you. Computer's about to die. Um, and then scallop potatoes. I mean, just all the potatoes. I have not ever met a potato I don't love. So my carb of choice. So yeah, so these are all things that, can be easily tweaked for, well, I mean, unfortunately, the corn on the cob is an exclusive deal. That's probably more so, I'll talk to you about that one, about making sure you eat protein, making sure, you have other things, which is pretty easy to do at a barbecue typically. So ribs, love it. I usually just put the sauce, like I will bring, I know it sounds weird, but I will bring like ribs marinated in the sauce that I want, or I'll just wipe off as much as I can. And that's for me because of blood sugar issues. It's not necessary for everyone. Um, Brisket, not easy to do well, like in general, it's kind of an involved thing, but you can have as much of that, as you want too. That's nice and that's hormone friendly. Potato salad. I love potato salad. I have made a very good radish salad before. That sounds crazy, but it still has some potato in it. So it just basically adds bulk to a potato salad without it being all potatoes. And I know you might be like, I don't like the peppery radishes. If you peel them and salt them and let them sit for a little bit so the extra liquid leaches out of them, they're not spicy. And then they kind of have a very similar texture to potatoes. So they're really good in potato salad. And extra zinc and magnesium, which is great for thyroid and PCOS. So, a burger, I mean, that's a good standby, right? And I love smart buns. I know next week we'll do our grocery call together. I'm going to introduce you to nutrition, my favorite. But they're called smart buns by the Smart Baking Company. They are gluten-free, low carb, everything free. You can have as many as you like. It's crazy. And the best thing is that the texture, it's like it's like a fast food hot dog bun. It's like very light, but it's not like microscopically small like a lot of those breads are. It's like it's got heft to it like like a burger bun. So love that. Um, yeah, you got to send me the cold linguine pasta recipe. I need that. I love corn so much, but it tears my ass up. Juliana, I love you. It tears my ass up too. Um, and my blood sugars, both my blood sugars and my butt. Funny story, my father-in-law randomly planted corn in my house at my in my backyard last week, so I'll let you guys know how that goes. It actually takes, and I just have corn growing in my backyard. Um, what is life? Mac and cheese. Oh, mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is going to be one of those things. It's so good and dependent on the gluten in the pasta, honestly, to keep that texture, that flavor, hold all of it. That I have had a hard time duplicating it, honestly. I there are a couple of like lower carb pastas that I recommend that are good. It's just never going to be the same, I feel like, as regular mac and cheese. So might tear you up, but I feel like that would be one of those things that I'm like, I'll make some kind of like hormone friendly dish to have a lot of, and I'm gonna have a little bit of that mac and cheese. Especially if you know someone who makes it good is making it, you know? There's the one designated mac and cheese person at the party. Um, I made stuffing for Thanksgiving with smart buns. That's awesome. And it was amazing. I could imagine that it like crisps up really nice because they're light, like they're fluffy. That's awesome. The Zen B pasta, that's the one I meant. That's the top one I recommend. It's got tons of protein in it. It's made from peas, from yellow peas. So the brand is Zen B. And I think they make elbows and like the little radiator looking pastas and stuff. I forget what they're called. Which are good too for pasta salads and stuff like that. So I could literally just talk about, if you can't tell, this is my favorite thing to talk about is just like brainstorming food. So yeah, you know, I think have fun with the food you're gonna bring. Like, don't bring something sad. Like, here's my kale chip. Well, I like kale chips. Another thing, my ass doesn't, but I do. But you know what I mean? Like, you're not like, don't bring something because you're like, I'm trying to be healthy. Bring something that is, also good for your baby steps, sure. But like, you're looking forward to eating it. It tastes freaking good, and I'm here to help you if you need that. So then post-event decompression. It's really important. Aftercare is always the most important, everybody. So, no food guilt spirals. Look out for these things. Look out for the food guilt spiral. And an analogy that I always use if you're somebody that goes on mission, screw it all, because you didn't have one day where you were quote unquote perfect, right? Anyone been there? I have. Is to think about it like this. Imagine you spill a little milk. You're not going to go get the gallon out of the fridge and dump the whole gallon on top of the little bit of milk because you spilled a little, right? Because then you got to clean up a shit ton of milk. And you didn't have to before. You only had a little bit of milk to clean up. And it's the same thing. Whenever you like, let's say you have something that you feel like maybe it's not going to agree with your hormones the most, that's okay. Leave it to that moment because you can keep going and you're still going to be better off than you were before falling into that spiral, you know? So you don't have to be perfect. You're going to be on this planet, God willing, whatever your deity willing, for decades to come, right? So let's hope. So if that's the case, what are you never going to have? Some freaking potato salad at a barbecue. You're never gonna have the regular sugar barbecue sauce ever again. Some birthday cake, you know? So just don't let it become a whole like, I screwed up, I suck, I'll start again Monday cycle because we all have been there and it's not helpful, you know? Um, those kale chips tore me up too, Chastity. Oh my God, it's like gut Brillo. I swear to God, kale and me just, I love it. I love the taste and texture, but no. Nope. I'm so bad with the guilt spirals and the missions you're talking about. Yeah, so remember, spilled milk. When you feel like you're going to double down on something and add to it, just think of the spilled milk. Am I dumping the gallon out right now? And of course, like I said, I'm here. The community's here if you need some support, bounce stuff off of. If you find yourself in that spiral, you're not alone, so definitely reach out. Don't forget to drink your water. That's another thing. Bring fun things to drink too. Whether you are, if you drink alcohol or you don't drink alcohol, that should be an episode, I think, too. Drinks. Okay, I'm gonna make a drinks episode, but make sure, regardless, you're hydrated. Electrolytes and stuff like that, don't overdo it because there's a lot marketed out there about electrolytes, but we really don't need that much unless we're heavily sweating or heavily active in the heat. So I like one serving a day if you're not super, super active, is good. You know, more if you have pots, but text me for specifics. Um, all right, so and one more thing. When you get back from the event and you are decompressing, right? You're drinking your water, you're cooling down, you're breathing, you're trying not to go on a food spiral, guilt spiral. Ask yourself, what actually felt good from today? Maybe even go into the event with the intention of finding one thing that was good and focus on that one good thing and build on that. I know it sounds like, a bunch of happy-go-lucky fluff, but happy-go-lucky fluff is good in a world that's this crazy, honestly, and dealing with the bodies that we deal with. Happy-go-lucky fluff, like what's so wrong with that? So, really think like what's one good thing from my time at this gathering and just focus on that. Um, okay. So biggest takeaway from today. Tell me in the comments before we jump. What's something that stood out to you or you connected with? Tell me your biggest takeaway from today in the chat. Let me catch up here. Drinks. I am so tired of seltzers. Yes, yes. Tequila with soda water and lime is also my fun choice if I don't take an edible. The spilled milk analogy, yeah, my favorite. I have a graphic that we have a really talented graphic artist named Molly in our community, and they made me an amazing graphic depicting that analogy. So I'll post that in the chat after this. Chastity, the biggest takeaway, I can eat as much brisket as I want. Dig in, send me some. I want brisket. Juliana, the smoker, has the smoker been going a lot lately? Anthony and his smoker? Because that's what I thought of when I read brisket. It's like, oh, I still want to really try Anthony's smoked meatloaf so badly. Those cooling towels, they're so good. They're so good. I'm so excited for you guys to try them. Spilled milk, spilled milk. I will be posting it. I love it. So, and then, yeah, definitely share the meatloaf recipe. I hope this was helpful. I love that you loved the analogy. I hope you took something away from it, that you're going to remember throughout the summer. But if you need a reminder, if you need support, I don't expect anyone to just like figure it all. That's why we're here, right? You don't have to figure it all out. Like lean on the support of this community or myself. I'm happy to be here for you. Um, all right. So enjoy your night and I will see you next week on our next episode. All right. Bye.